Rock versus Hogan at WrestleMania 18 is considered one of the greatest matches of all time, and I don't know why. I always hear about the crowd, icon versus icon, but what makes this any different from any other top stars going at it? So I decided to sit down and watch the match to see how good was Rock v Hogan at WrestleMania actually. Let's start from the beginning. By 2002, The Rock was the guy. He had done it all. He was world champion, Royal Rumble winner, main evented WrestleMania multiple times, and he beat almost everyone there was to beat in the WWF. Triple H, Kurt Angle, Undertaker, Chris Jericho, Mankind. It was looking like he was the man. He was the face that ran the place. But then,
well, let me tell you something, brother.
Hogan came back. On the February 18, 2002 episode of Raw, Hogan returned and he walked out like,
Daddy's back.
Everybody was like, hooray, yay, Hogan's back, hooray, we love Hogan, hooray. Hogan was looking around, he was feeling himself, and when it was finally time for him to talk, he was all like, all right, cut the glazing. And he turns into a D1 manipulator. He says he didn't want to leave, they made him leave, they pushed him away, and he started to get his stuff off. He said the fans ain't nothing, their mama ain't nothing, Bret Hart ain't nothing, Shawn Michaels ain't nothing, Stone Cold ain't nothing, The Rock definitely ain't nothing. Hogan is the only good thing to come out the WWF. Hogan is wrestling. Without him, none of y'all would be there. But then The Rock came out. And he was like,
whoa, brother, whoa, now. You got too much dip on your chip.
The Rock got in the ring and called Hogan out on all of his lies and nonsense. But he also realized that Hogan was right about one thing. He was still the man. And like Ric Flair said, to be the man, you have to beat the man. So realizing what he had to do, he challenged Hogan to a match at WrestleMania. And once that challenge was issued, the entire atmosphere in the arena changed. The crowd started to chant, Rocky, Rocky, Hogan, Hogan, going back and forth. Hogan and The Rock started to look around the arena, taking in all the energy from the crowd. It was something that was never seen before. Hogan started to go on a yap session, but The Rock cut him off. He wasn't gonna let Hogan use his Hulkster trickery on him. He wanted a definite answer, yes or no. Hogan says yes, and the match is set. Fantasy matchup, icon versus icon at WrestleMania 18. The Rock hits Hogan with a rock bottom, and it looked like The Rock was gonna come out on top. But then Hogan's homeboys, the NWO, come out, they jump The Rock, they spray paint NWO on him, and they later commit attempted murder by ramming a semi-truck into the ambulance that he was packed in. They were basically sending a message that they're not to be taken lightly. So after watching this segment, you could tell that something special was coming. Yeah, the whole two top superstars agreeing to a match at WrestleMania was nothing new, but the way that this whole sequence played out, the tension, involvement of the crowd, the fact that one face of a generation is facing the face of another, this was just the perfect ingredients for the making of something iconic. It's WrestleMania 18. Rock and Hogan are in the ring. They're staring each other down. Rock is staring at Hogan, and you can tell by looking at his face that all he's thinking about is beating Hogan and becoming the man. Hogan is staring at Rock. Rock and Hogan look around the Sky Dome, soaking up all the energy. Half is chanting Rock, half is chanting Hogan. They go into a lockup, but Hogan pushes him off. The crowd erupts for Hogan. Hogan is looking at The Rock like, that's not gonna work for me, brother. If you want this torch for me, you're gonna have to pry it from my steroid-filled hand. The Rock gets up and he's like, bet, and the battle begins. The Rock dominates early, and every move he's done is followed with cheers. You could tell by The Rock's face that he's never been in a situation like this before. The Rock would have small bursts of momentum, but every move was followed with boos. Eventually, The Rock reverses Hogan into the corner, and he's hitting him with chops. But by this point, he realizes that the people that once backed him against any opponent he faced was now against him. Now, the people's chant has to walk all alone on his journey to becoming a man. But instead of sticking to what he usually does, he decides to play into it. At ringside, Rock is laying the smacker down on Hogan. He attempts to nail him with a chair, which is a typical heel move, but he stopped. They both go back into the ring with Rock in control. Rock Irish whips Hogan, but Hogan reverses and sends Rock crashing into the ref, knocking him out because the refs only have like 10 HP. Rock and Hogan start shifting momentum back and forth with it ending in a spine buster from The Rock. The Rock puts Hogan in the sharpshooter. Rock's crying out. Hogan's wincing in pain. Hogan drags himself to the rope, but The Rock pulls him back to the center. Hogan starts tapping, but there's a problem. The ref is down, and The Rock's mad because he finally beat the man to become the man, but this punk ref didn't see it. The Rock wakes the ref up, but meanwhile, Hogan's getting up, only to low blow The Rock and hit him with the Rock bottom. The ref counts the pin. 1, 2, no. The Rock kicks out. Hogan's inner colonizer starts to come out. He takes off his belt and he starts whipping the Rock. After, Hogan tries to use the belt like brass knucks, but Rock reverses it into a DDT. The Rock takes the belt and like a slave getting revenge on the slave master, he starts beating Hogan with the belt. Rock hits Hogan with the Rock bottom. He goes for the pin. 1, 2, no. Hogan kicks out and the crowd erupts in cheers. But this next scene had the Rock shook like we've never seen him shook before, because he was witnessing something so dangerous, so crazy, it left him speechless. Hogan was hulking up. Hogan wiggles his finger, hits the big boot, then hits the leg drop on Rock. The same move that took out Andre the Giant and Yokozuna at WrestleMania. It was looking like The Rock was gonna suffer the same fate. Hogan goes for the pin, but The Rock kicks out. Hogan goes for it again, but The Rock gets out the way. Rock's on his feet. At this point, he's tired of Hogan. He wants to end it and show that he's the man of the WWF. He hits Hogan with 2 Rock bottom, hips up, sets Hogan up for the people's elbow, starts to take the elbow pad off. Flash photography is going crazy. He goes for the people's elbow. He hits it. 1, 2, 3. Rock beats Hogan. Rock proves he is the man in the WWF. After the match, The Rock is celebrating. Then he runs into Hogan, who is standing up and is clearly in pain. Hogan extends his hand and is like, "You did it, brother. You're the man. The torch is yours." They shake hands, but then the NWO comes out. They're yelling at Hogan as if they had money on him to win, and they lost everything. Hogan tries to tell the guys he's sorry, but they weren't trying to hear it, and they start beating him down. The Rock comes to Hogan's rescue, and both Hogan and The Rock take out the NWO. Hogan tried to leave to let The Rock get his shine, but The Rock wasn't gonna let Hogan go out like that, and he wanted him to get his poses off and entertain the crowd. Hogan does his poses, and The Rock and Hogan leave the ring together like 2 best friends walking into the sunset. So this match was spectacular. The energy from the crowd, cheering after every big move or moment, it really added to the storytelling. The Rock and Hogan switching roles, passing of the torch, it was all perfect. And I could tell they tried to do the same thing with Rock and Cena, but it wasn't the same. When Rock cost Cena the WWE Championship at Mania, those 2 fighting felt like the obvious next step. But this match felt like it wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to be one of those what-if matches that you talk about with your friends or online, not something that you'd see in real time. So, in summary, top 10 WrestleMania match of all time.